Good afternoon, I'm Carey Brendalen with Architectural Alliance, and Tom Hysell and I will be tag teaming today. Our topic is building international practice in aviation, and I think this could be applied to really any of the specialties that will be presented kind of following us. Aviation is a particular interest for us. It's an exciting project type, it's a gateway to communities, it's an economic catalyst, and it's often becomes a civic image. So from an architectural standpoint, it's very strong from us. I think the brief story that we'll use a bit as a case study is how we went from one airport 15 years ago to 75 airports today. And I think many of the key themes are ones that we've talked about today, and it began with the address by the provost this morning. And it had to do with collaboration. It begins in a very local location, and then with the desire really to export that. It's about applying knowledge, and as Tom eloquently put, it's kind of building on the lessons learned. So the three things that we'll be talking about is really the building of knowledge, the leadership required, as well as the messaging that takes place in terms of the 15 years behind us, as well as, more importantly, the 15 years ahead of us.
So 15 years ago, what am I talking about? Since 1978, we opened an office in Minneapolis Airport. Within the airport, last year Dialogue gave us a great example they did a student center, I believe it was, where they actually built a glass house and they used the students to come back and forth and work. Was that Dialogue? Okay. And it was great. And as we thought about that, what do? We actually live in the airport. We eat there, our people go through security every day, we're down in the bowels of the building, and we think that very similarly is what we needed to do and really set the stage for the past 33 years. This really works as an incubator for our staff for all of these 75 projects. The airport itself is huge. You see all the runways. They have well over 1 million square feet. We've put in place well over $1.5 billion worth of construction, and they have like the third largest police force in the state of Minnesota. So it's a city. 32 million people go through there every year. We take it from a point of design, and what can we do as architects is essential to it, and that's something that is part of the message that Carey is talking about. It also is about building on the expertise and TSA queuing requirements and baggage systems. We know it inside and out. It is this knowledge of expertise that took so much time to build, and how can you take that on the road is part of this message. And I know that Epstein, I was talking earlier, they're working on some of their projects, and they understand some of this spaghetti as well. But the thing what changed our practice was to come through and understand how we can merge through collaboration. And this had a whole bunch of people at the table, from the airport and concession planners, to change how airports operated, with Minneapolis being right there. The first one or two airports to come in and say, here is revenue. So what is important to us is the expertise, our expertise, and what makes the aviation practice work and unique. What makes it unique is the customer focus on the traveler, on the passenger experience, a sense of arrival, a sense of place, the client focus on revenue. How can we maximize that? So all these get integrated into our message, because the per square footage revenue here is extraordinary.
We didn't rehearse this, so I'm just jumping up here. So as Tom said, probably the first 18 years we worked in one airport. We began working then in regional airports, smaller airports. In in about the mid-90s, the retail project took off, poor pun, and then we began speaking internationally and nationally through our knowledge of the airport as well as the partners. And I really want to emphasize kind of our partners, is we've been successful through building teams, really, where architects, planners, and interior designers, and then we align and build teams within each region or within each country to successfully execute these projects.
And so, as not being the sales pitch, but this has taken us, as you saw on the map, from Anchorage and what we're doing there to Memphis and bringing things in there down to Orlando, and how we're creating each one uniquely and bringing that expertise to the next level. Again, the underlying point of our talk here is how we built a practice, and I think it was to take this expertise to build on that, and with a couple people in particular who had the spirit and the drive to go out and potentially make a fool of themselves, and to speak at conferences, and to be the potentially rainmaker and go through. And a number of people in this room know Eric Peterson, who was able to really push that and get on the speaking circuit, and it had the charisma, I think, which it takes, because if you're really good at it but you're in a cave, you're not going to be able to do anything with it. So part of the next part of our story, that to take it internationally, and this is, we now have, to the map you saw before, added some projects in Brazil, we're in Barbados, we're working on potentially other projects down in the Caribbean, and we've been talking about Guam, so we've been able to have an expansion of our practice internationally, and it is dealing with the aspects of P3 in particular. The fact we are not HOK, we are not Gensler, we're interviewing against them all the time, but it is the knowledge of being part of a team and a partnership. And I really have to credit GDA and Cypher and Gordon Hamilton, who morphed into Lee Fisher, who used to be part of GDA, to really have given us opportunity to bring us to the table because of collaboration. I mean, it's what Glenn was talking about. It's exactly what Tom was talking about. It's not an overused word, even though it is. It's what is it about it that makes it, and I really think that it's all the teaming that that helps. This is a project in Brazil where our client was not successful with the P3, but we were able to bring in interface and acoustic dimensions and SGH to the table to say, okay, we're ready to go if they're ready to go. But the bids were off by only $4 billion, so go figure. Quickly, a couple of the other things in Brazil, some of the things that we did this fall just to get ready for the P3 aspect to it. You can close. How are we doing time?
I think just kind of in conclusion, what we're continually seeking from kind of a messaging standpoint is where are airports going? As Tom indicated, they're cities in themselves, they are ecosystems in themselves, and from a sustainability standpoint, from a financial revenue standpoint, in terms of actually being the catalyst for new cities around the world, the aviation infrastructure is just really beginning to gain traction. I think in the BRIC countries, Brazil, as we indicated, India, China, and that is our future.